once you, and I know it sounds harsh, but on a visceral level, it was life. Like life ain't really much of shit, bro. Like once you, and I know it sounds harsh, but on a visceral level, it really don't mean nothing. Like there's no meaning to it. There's no beginning. You don't know when you started. You don't know when you end the shit. It's just a hallucination, and it feels very real and tangible and colorful and painful at times and ecstatic, but it don't really mean nothing. So the game is to like mind fuck yourself again and again and again and again until it's lights out. And unless you mind, and while you every minute you're not mind fucking yourself, they're mind fucking you because they mind fucking us. You know what I'm saying? But they just have a bigger mind because it's a mastermind, and that's what they've been using for thousands of fucking years, hundreds of years. They've been using this mastermind mentality and this mastermind alliance. So they still just doing what they do because you don't know what to do, but just do what you want to do while they doing what they doing, and before you know it, they'll be lost because they're gonna build technology and they gonna lose, and technology gonna do it, and then they'll just be like, fuck, and then you still over here trying to get fucking rich, and it's just like nothing means anything. Even once AI comes and takes this shit over and nukes the world, what they just build another world. And then after a while, they're gonna try to get that to a certain level, and that's gonna expand until we back to zero. Are we somewhere where we just never, and it still don't mean shit. Like it still don't mean, like as far as we go, it's just, and it still don't mean shit. Like it still don't mean, like as far as we go, it's just a hallucination, the universe learning itself, machines learning itself, humans learning itself. But the code is endless until the architect pushes the button on life, on this virtual experience completely, then you gotta keep upping your design. That's all you really have to do. You gotta up.
The night sky is dark. Chocolate is sweet. Your friendship circles will shrink with time. These are all facts that constitute our reality. Better said, your reality. A reality that is actually not really real, as you'll soon see. Take this apple. Red. Solid. Crunchy. Except this is not the real apple. This is the human brain apple. Show it to some alien with a different visible spectrum, and you get this. The alien brain apple. And maybe the alien has razor sharp teeth, and when they bite into the apple, it doesn't make the crunchy sound at all. The point is, both the human and the alien apples are different interpretations of the same object, the real apple. And if you remove any observers and their subjective perspectives, how would this objective apple look like? And this applies to the entire universe. Anything that you see, hear, and feel is just your subjective interpretation of the objective reality. Although a bit different, Plato's theory of forms claims there is a non-physical perfect form of every object, of which the real objects are mere interpretations. We have established that your brain acts as some sort of reality converter, from the objective to the subjective one that you perceive right now. Your brain converts photons into colors, air disturbances into sound, and nerve signals into sensory information. These subjective experiences are called qualia. But remove the converter, and reality stops making sense. There still will be photons, sound waves and temperature, but there will be no more colors, sounds, or sensory feelings. There is a thought experiment that explores this topic. If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? The tree will make disturbances in the air when falling, but it will not generate the sensation of sound that we're accustomed to. Without any observers, the universe would exist, but without any qualia such as colors, temperatures, or even the speed of the flow of time. Without anyone to observe it, the entire lifespan of the universe might very well last an instant, or conversely, an eternity. Similarly, the past only exists inside your brain, in the form of memories. The objective reality only exists during the infinitesimally small instance called the present. You could even argue that because the present is so short-lived, your consciousness becomes aware of it only after it has become the past. so you are only experiencing the past. And now, a very quick announcement. I have added a few nice things to my merch store with a link in the description below. Get yourself a nice mug or shirt, and support Skynet and the channel. Especially this week only, you can profit off the Black Friday sales. Now back to the topic. Remember that red apple? What if your red isn't the same as someone else's red? You could have both lived your entire lives agreeing on the colors, even though you could have had different qualia in regards to that. How do you know that my voice generates the same sound inside your head that it would in someone else's? That cannot be proven. So let's just pretend that our subjective realities are the same for the sake of our sanity. Oh, and how about this? How do you know that anything outside of your perceptions inside your brain is real? What if all these qualia are artificially simulated and in reality, you are just a consciousness trapped inside a laboratory? I know this is very relieving to hear, but there's nothing we can do to prove or disprove it. However, the Occam's razor rule tells us that the simplest explanation is probably the correct one, and a trapped consciousness is a lot more complex of an explanation than just simply having real experiences. But in the end, the one and only thing that you can be sure of is that your consciousness exists. If you can doubt your existence, you have to exist in order to doubt it. As Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. And check Science Files merch store.
It will make you question whether reality exists at all. This simple configuration shoots particles of light called photons, one at a time, through two tiny slits in a screen.
We have a laser which produces light. This light is attenuated such that only one photon at a time emerges. This photon passes through a two-slit assembly, and then we have a camera which registers the pattern behind the two-slit assembly. So what we see is that the photons arrive one by one on the screen, some here, some there, and it looks pretty random.
Since the photons travel one by one, some through this slit, some through that slit, you would expect them to leave a pattern of two stripes on the wall. And you would be wrong. They mysteriously create a band of stripes. This is what you would expect to see if a constant beam of light shined through the two slits. It would spread across the wall like a wave. So how can single bullet-like particles of light create a wave pattern? This could only happen if the particles go through both slits at the same time. In other words, the particle is in two places at once. But strangest of all is what happens when you put detectors next to the slits. When the photons are being
assembly, which registers the pattern behind the two-slit assembly. So what we see is that the photons arrive one by one on the screen, some here, some there, and it looks pretty random.
Since the photons travel one by one, some through this slit, some through that slit, you would expect them to leave a pattern of two stripes on the wall. And you would be wrong. They mysteriously create a band of stripes. This is what you would expect to see if a constant beam of light shined through the two slits. It would spread across the wall like a wave. So how can single bullet-like particles of light create a wave pattern? This could only happen if the particles go through both slits at the same time. In other words, the particle is in two places at once. But strangest of all is what happens when you put detectors next to the slits. When the photons are being watched, the wave pattern disappears. Take away the detectors and the wave pattern comes back. This suggests that we can change the way reality behaves just by looking at it. Does this mean that reality itself is not real?
The modern answer is that the path taken by the photon is not an element of reality. We are not allowed to talk about the photon passing through this or this slit. Neither are we allowed to say that the photons pass through both slits. All this kind of language is not applicable.
So, do we just keep reaping the benefits from quantum mechanics and accept that deep down nature plays by a set of rules that will forever remain a mystery?
The interesting message here is that we have quantum physics now around for nearly 100 years, and we are still working at the foundations. And that tells me that when we found it, it will be an absolute revelation. It will be something different from what we have been thinking.
If the quantum theorists are correct, we will never understand the fundamental level of the universe. Our hopes of finding an ultimate theory will fail, and the human race will hit a roadblock it can't break through. But what if they're wrong? What if the truth about what happens deep inside you, me, and everything else in the universe is there, if we're willing to look for it?
You can't become the president. How the fuck do you become the president? Where's the applications at? Do anybody know how the fuck I could become the president right now? No, you don't. This shit is all rigged and handpicked. You are literally living in a movie. Everybody's acting. It's not real. These motherfuckers is not real. They're not. None of this shit is real. It's all smokes and mirrors. And you so in love with the reality movie that you don't want to accept that it's not reality. None of this shit is real. Nothing you do on a daily basis is real. Your hair is not real. Your motherfucking, the food you eat is not real. The environment you live in is not real. The shit you watch on TV is not real. The shit you see on the news is not real. None of these politicians are showing you how they really feel and think. None of this shit is real. None of the actors, none of these motherfucking none of these motherfuckers are being real. Not an ounce. And then you would look at somebody like me and you would say, this nigga is wild. No, bitch, I'm being real. I'm showing you my authentic, real self. So I'm just letting y'all know this is how you are caught up in the matrix. Because you too in love with fantasy. You too in love with the lie. It's like a woman who you love the nigga that tells you the best lie. You love this nigga. You know this nigga ain't shit. You know the nigga ain't gonna live up to half of your motherfucking expectations. But he's a very good sweet talker. And you so in love with the symphony of this nigga words that you will willfully stay in a bad position because you that much you're that enchanted by this nigga's words. Same thing with the world. It's like y'all are so enchanted by what the fuck you see on TV that you will convince yourself that that's the truth. None of this shit is true. None of this shit is real. None of this shit that you worship, none of this shit you want to be like, these motherfuckers don't even want to be like that. You want to be like Jay-Z? Jay-Z don't even want to be Jay-Z. You want to be like Lil Nas X? Lil Nas X don't even want to be like Lil Nas X. You want to be like Beyonce? Beyonce don't even want to be like Beyonce. These people can't say what the fuck they really think. These people can't say what the fuck they really feel. These people can't behave how they want it. Basically, they can't be themselves. And that's what y'all need to realize. The moment that you can no longer be yourself, you have basically sold your soul or gave your soul away. Why would you put yourself in a position where you can't have honesty within yourself? If you don't like something, shouldn't you be able to say, I don't like that? If you don't want to do something, shouldn't you be able to say, I don't want to do that? If you want to say something, shouldn't you be able to say it? Why would you put yourself in a position where the true reality of who you are is restricted? And not only is it restricted, in order to uphold the fake version of yourself, you gotta do shit that the true version of yourself would never do. Why would you do that? That's the most dumbest shit you would ever do. So now we want to talk about intelligence. Only
I close my eyes in a dark room. I'm levels deep in this cartoon. No longer wearing costumes, and I got questions about our moon. My guides told me it was fake, an illusion I create.